All right, welcome back everybody. This is episode 24 of my multi-cloud network architecture series, and in this episode, you guessed it, we're looking at CoPilot again. If you haven't heard of CoPilot, go watch all the videos that I've posted on my channel and all the videos on the Aviatrix channel related to CoPilot. It's an incredible analytics platform built for the cloud. There's nothing like it on the market. It will blow your mind. And with every release, new features, new capabilities, and new functions for visibility are exposed to the customer. In this episode, we're going to go through some of the new features that CoPilot is offering in this latest release. So let's get started. All right, so we're going to jump directly into the topology section of CoPilot. What you'll notice now is that we've brought clustering to the topology to make it look cleaner. Before, you could see all the Aviatrix gateways on this page, but now we've clustered them. So you can see here, if I double click this Azure cluster, it will show you two Aviatrix gateways in that Azure VNet, the subnets that we're handling for that VNet, and some VNet information. Now, if we click Show Instances, we're also going to see the instances that live in those VNets and the subnets that they're connected to. Now remember, you can click on anything in CoPilot to gather the metadata from that construct, whether it's an instance, a subnet, a VNet, an Aviatrix gateway, we don't care. We're collecting all the data from the CSP to present it to you in one place for easy troubleshooting. So you can see I click this instance over here and it gives me all the information from Azure about that instance. Same thing for anything in AWS or GCP. The same features work across all clouds. This is a fully multi-cloud network visibility platform. What else has changed? Well, we can tag anything in this topology for use later on in CoPilot visibility or for searchability. We've brought tagging to the instances now, and FlowIQ based on those tags applied to those instances. I can take this workload over here called the East Jump Host and add a tag to it. We can call it Dana's workload. And I'll add that over there. Save. All right. Now I can type Dana and it instantly starts to search based off a regular expression string for Dana in the metadata or in that tag. So you can custom tag anything across any cloud. You now have a multi-cloud tagging mechanism for your visibility. And remember, these tags can be used later on in CoPilot in other sections like the FlowIQ section to build custom filters and to narrow down your focus to be on specific constructs or specific instances. Pretty incredible. If you want to manage all these tags after you've built them or apply them in a different manner, you can do that under the settings section, under Tag Manager. You'll see here all the different constructs that CoPilot knows about, and you can add tags from here. I click the Add Tags button and I can create them right there. You can go to the Manage Tags section to see all the tags I've created and what they're applied to, and I can customize them from here as well or delete them in bulk. Going back to the topology, we've also added consistent latency detection. Now remember, Aviatrix is an overlay, a really powerful overlay for the multi-cloud network. And because it's an overlay, we can gather more details from the underlay that your CSP is not going to offer, that your CSP will not release to you. CSPs are black boxes. We're an open solution. We're trying to provide you everything you need for effective and efficient troubleshooting in the cloud. Take a look at this. Every green link is a tunnel, and it's providing us telemetry of the latency of that tunnel. So you can see here from this gateway to this transit cluster over here, it's 0.78 milliseconds. That's within region, very close, no problems there. Across region, we can see 39.62 milliseconds, or 24.31 milliseconds, or 28.96 milliseconds here. Now, this is one way to visualize it. You can clean this up if you want by disabling the physics and moving things around so it displays nicer. But you could also go under Latency Monitor and see them all displayed at once. These are all the different tunnels, all the different endpoints providing latency for us. We'll be able to search through these to narrow down the exact point-to-point link or tunnel, whether it's within region or across region, hub to hub, spoke to spoke, hub to spoke, whatever it might be, you'll see that information here. And very soon you'll be able to set custom thresholds of latency and alert based off threshold crossing announcements. Going back to the network graph, we can also click on a transit link, for example, any one of these green links, and see a different view of all the different tunnels going between those two transit nodes and what their latency looks like right now. And this is real-time information. Next up, let's look at what's changed in FlowIQ. If you haven't seen FlowIQ before, go watch the previous videos. It gives you super detailed and granular information down to the nitty-gritty packet level details of all the flows going across your multi-cloud network. It provides you easily digestible outputs in different formats like graphs and charts and top talker information as well. If enabled, CoPilot will also resolve IP addresses to DNS names. Look at all this information we can provide for you on just the dashboard of FlowIQ, just the basic page. We can go into a lot more depth there. Now remember, this is a date range. You can go back in time and see things from months and months ago. But what's really powerful here is that we can create the custom filters. And we've made our custom filters easier to read with a lot more options. And we can now save all these filters so you can load them whenever you wish to quickly see details about your custom apps or your corporate apps. I'm going to create a new filter, and I'm going to create one based on a destination address. And you could put an IP address here. But what's even cooler is we can filter based off those tags that we created in the topology table. Why not use tagging instead of trying to remember all these different IPs? You'll remember your app names. So let's click filter by tag and see what tags we have. I have a bunch in here. Let me run this Dana's workload one and see what comes up. I'm going to apply that filter and there's no data. Let's try a different one because that wasn't supposed to happen. I don't have any data going there. Let's try my FTP client and see what's in there. There's some data. We got some data there. All right, I don't have a lot going on in that environment, but you can get the point here that you can custom tag any one of your instances or constructs and then have that information focused by filtering off that tag. Now we can add more to the filter to make it more complex. So we can click the plus button here and as much as you want. There's 80 different things you can filter on and keep getting more and more complex or more and more granular for your filtering. Another thing you can do is build a custom filter and then save it. So let's say I'm going to filter on this source IP and this destination IP, and then I know this is my app, for example. Well, we can create this filter group. Let's save it as Dana's app. Save. All right, so I can come in the next day or later on and I can load that. So let's clear it out. Let's say I come in the next day, I'm curious about that app and what's happening or with that flow that I saved. I can load the filter group, click Dana's app, bam, that information is now going to be provided to you right here. Now these filters are carried across all the different sections of the FlowIQ, so it's relevant across all of them. So if we go to the Trends tab, we can see some trends. Now there's not a lot of data going across these source and destination IPs that I picked, so let's clear them out to see more information. There we go. Now we can see all the data in one spot. But you can see we have destination port name, source address, destination address, and total bandwidth used. This hasn't changed since the last version of CoPilot, but I want to do a quick review on it because it's pretty powerful from a networking individual's perspective to see this type of data in this format. Geolocation hasn't changed. I'll skip over that for now, but we have geolocation where you can see all the countries and cities and states that are communicating with your public instances. And then the flows hasn't changed either, but again, a very powerful way to visualize your flows. It's called a Sankey chart. Sankey chart shows you all the different flows that are occurring and how big they are, how much data is being pushed based on how big the flow shows up in the Sankey chart. You can click each one and see the breakdown of all the flows. I love this feature. Customers absolutely love this. It's such a nice way to visualize what's happening in your environment. This is everything, but what makes more sense is to create custom filters to see it with your custom apps. Records hasn't changed. Actually, records has changed. We added some new fields, pretty cool fields. So we have bytes now. We have the direction of that flow. We have the duration of that flow. And we have the amount of packets going across and the throughput of that flow. This is amazing. To be able to quickly search on a flow or create a custom filter that gives you the exact flow information, tells you the actual throughput of that flow. Come on, that has to be impressive. That's incredible. There's nothing like this in the cloud today. Such detailed information that will make your life easy. Will make your post-mortem process easy. Will make your troubleshooting process so efficient. Next up is the performance tab. And just like it says, we're going to provide all the details about the performance of the Aviatrix gateways running in your cloud network. Remember, Aviatrix is all about giving you all of the details, not a black box. We don't subscribe to that model. There are other vendors out there, CSPs, etc., that want to hide stuff from you. That's just their game. Our game is to provide for you every single detail you need to be effective in the cloud. This is an enterprise class solution, and no enterprise class solutions should be hiding anything from you. So we can select any node, any Aviatrix gateway that we have out there running right now. Let's pick a couple of them. And what we're going to do here is you're going to see that all of those gateways are now showing their data on this page, but we're overlaying them, the data, the telemetry on top of each other, so you have some way to easily compare from one gateway to another. So here you have free mem, CPU utilization, disk free, receive rate, transfer rate, receive and transfer rate on one page. So that's what that's all about. Now what's cool is that we can create alerts for all these different pieces of telemetry so that if you go above a certain threshold, you get an email. And soon you can also select that to be exported through webhooks. So let's go look at that right now. Under the notification section, we can create a custom notification. Let's call this Dana CPU. All right, and we're going to select the CPU utilization metric, and we will, let's just say if we go above 45%, we should get alerted, and that email should go to me, dyanch@aviatrix.com. Feel free to email me if you have questions. That's my email. So that's now, if I save that, now it's going to alert on any instance that goes above 45%. This is just the beginning. We're adding more and more of these alerts. For example, we'll add latency alerts so that you can select a certain latency threshold and alert based off that as well. Now to look at the alerts and see the history of alerts that have happened, you can click the notifications section here and you can see kind of like a trail, a breadcrumb trail, whatever you want to call it, of alerts that have occurred, when they occurred, why they occurred, who was notified, and then when they closed. So you can see here in this case my controller went above a certain threshold for kilobits per second that I had set, and it alerted me and then some fake email that I created, and then it was later on closed because it was fine. Now you can also go ahead and close these manually if you wanted to. And now let's talk about some of the really cool advancements we've made in this platform in recent releases. Check this out, cloud routes. If you've done any troubleshooting for networking in the cloud, whether it's single region, multi-region, multi-cloud, I'm sure you've realized how painful it can be, how much of a time suck it is. It's a big waste of your time doing troubleshooting in the cloud consoles, looking at VPC route tables, TGW route tables, VNet route tables, attachment information. It's all very basic, no intelligence, static, super manual, and you have to jump from table to table, account to account, VPC to VPC, region to region. It's horrible. It takes way too long to do any type of troubleshooting. If this was more like on-prem, you could figure out routing in seconds or minutes if you have a good grasp on routing, because you have the tools to do that. You don't have those tools in the cloud natively, but you do with Aviatrix. What our development team has done for CoPilot is aggregated all the routing information across all your Aviatrix gateways, all your VPC and VNet route tables into this dashboard that you can now search through and visualize quite nicely. Check this out. Here are gateways. I have a bunch of gateways, about 20 gateways, and all of them have route tables, right? These are full-blown routers with route tables. If you want to see what the routing table looks like and how they've been programmed by the intelligent Aviatrix controller, you can click the little drop-down button here, and you can see the route, you can see the tunnel information, the next hop, IP and name. You can see the metric information, the state of the tunnel, if it's up or down, and you can do that on any gateway you want. You can even search through these. So let's take, for example, I'm just going to take this IP. No, wait, let's take this IP. And let's pop this route here and pop it into the search bar. You can see it searched for that route and it found it only in one gateway, the East Workload VPC gateway. If I open it up, there it is. Soon we'll actually highlight that route that you searched for in a future release. It'll be really easy to find stuff. Now check this out. Let's say, well, okay, great. I see that that route lives on that gateway, but from a visual perspective, what does it look like in my topology? Well, you can click this. It'll take you directly to topology and highlight anything that has to do with that route. Okay? You can see these instances and these gateways are highlighted for that route. Now let's go back to the cloud route section, and same thing for FlowIQ. If you're curious, well, that gateway, I'm curious what's going across that gateway I just found out about by searching that route. you can click this button here, filter in FlowIQ, and we'll create an automatic filter based on the host IP of that gateway. And now you can see all the information of traffic going across that gateway. Super simple to get detailed analytics in this UI and in this platform. Now the same thing exists for VPC VNet routes instead of just gateways. So here you can see we've collected all the VPC VNet routes, and you can open them up. You can see what's in those route tables. You no longer have to jump from console to console, cloud to cloud, account to account, region to region. You just go right here and search for what you want, and it will populate, and all the information will be there for you. The route, the target, which is basically the next hop, etc., the status of it, the cloud it's coming from. Now the site to cloud tab is for customers or organizations that aggregate VPNs in the cloud. You might be an organization that aggregates your customers via VPN tunnels into your transit infrastructure in the cloud, or you're connecting to multiple partners or just other entities via VPN tunnels, whether they're policy-based or route-based, doesn't matter. We support all of those. But what we're able to show you here is the status and the details of those tunnels. So you can see down here I have some stuff that's up, some stuff that's down. These are down on purpose. I shut them down. We have some stuff that's up. Let's look at those. Some tunnels to Silver Peak boxes. I like playing with SD-WAN, and so I have Silver Peak running all the time and testing things. But you can see here that I have a bunch of tunnels. I have 4 tunnels on this transit going to these guys, and I have 4 tunnels on this side as well. You can see the peer IP, the IP address, the gateway name. It's quite cool to be able to see all this in one place and see the status in real time of your VPN tunnels. Now again, you have the same buttons to search in Topology and to quickly filter based off this tunnel information. So if I click search in Topology, you can see that it highlighted this AWS East Transit cluster. Let's open that up. And there it is right here. East Transit to Silver Peak. I've got to clean up my diagram a little bit. It's kind of ugly, but I'll do that later. But you can see it quickly highlighted. That's this VPN tunnel, and it's up and up. All good to go. Let's go back over to site to cloud, and you can search through all this information as well. If you have many tunnels, we have customers with 300 tunnels in some cases, you can search through them right here. Here's another really awesome feature we brought for our customers, BGP aggregation of information. So again, a lot of our customers are running BGP to on-prem or to customer endpoints or to partners, whatever it might be. They're running BGP. They need an easy way to visualize the BGP routing information and topology. As you can see here, my gateways that are terminating the BGP connections, you can see BGP is enabled on them. They're in active mesh, which means equal cost multipath, active. You can see the local ASN. If we drop this down, you can see what's the status of that connection. Well, in this case, it's not established, it's down. Let's go look at this one. Should have some stuff in there. Yeah, there we go. We got 2 BGP peers to my Silver Peak boxes. They're established, so it tells you the state, the BGP state, okay, and also the remote ASN, the neighbor IP, the local IP. Now, if you're curious, what am I learning from that peer? Well, I can click this show button. You can see here are all the routes I'm learning from that peer. And what am I advertising to that peer? These routes. And what if you want to visualize that BGP map? Okay, well, just click this show button. And you can see here, this is my transit router or Aviatrix transit gateway that's terminating the BGP. Here's my local AS, and here are my 2 Silver Peak neighbors. You can see the neighbor IP information there, the remote ASN, but I also have one that's down. That's why it's red. It's telling me the state of that peering, BGP peering is down right now. Very nice way to visualize BGP connectivity in your cloud network. And finally, let's look at the latest and greatest feature that our CoPilot development team has brought us. It's called AppIQ, and it's truly remarkable. There's nothing like this on the market. What AppIQ lets you do is look at a full report from a performance and connectivity and topology and flow perspective from source to destination. So all we have to do is pick our source instance. Let's pick the East workload PC, and our destination instance, which would be the West workload PC. And let's say we're going to run this check on port, I don't know, let's say 8080, TCP port 8080 on the private side. You can do it in private or public. So let's run that report and give it a second. And there you have it. The first thing you see is a map of how the West workload PC gets to the East workload PC across the Aviatrix multi-cloud overlay. You can see here that the West workload PC is connected to the West workload VPC, and within that VPC there are 2 spoke gateways, which then connect to the Aviatrix transit backbone, which then connects to the other region and then goes into the spoke VPC where the east workload PC lives. Now we're going to show you step by step, hop by hop, what the latency is across the Aviatrix overlays. You can see here within region, the latencies, across region, the latencies, and back on the other side within region. If anything was out of place, you'd see it here. But we also provide another output of that latency information, more of a listing or chart. And so you can see here within region, cross region, within region again. So you can see this is probably normal. This looks good. But if there was something out of the ordinary, you would see it here. Like for example, if there was 15 milliseconds within region, something's wrong. And if there was 200 milliseconds across region, when you don't expect to see that high of latency, there's something wrong. So you can easily pinpoint latency problems for your application performance. Scroll down a little bit. What we can see here now are the Aviatrix gateway performance monitoring data. So every single gateway that's servicing a packet from source to destination is being shown here, and its performance is being depicted here. So we're not a black box, as I said a million times, fully open. You want to be able to see that information and run a report and quickly tell if it's the data plane or not. Scrolling down, more analytics on the network utilization, the network trending information. So total bandwidth for the destination instance, total bandwidth usage for the source instance, and then total bandwidth for usage from source to destination. Just different ways to visualize this information. Now, we also run a flight path report. If you haven't heard of flight path, go watch one of my videos. I talk about it all the time, but it's a solution built into the Aviatrix controller that runs a check on all the networking constructs in the cloud to make sure that it's been configured correctly for that traffic to pass. So it checks the route tables, it checks the security groups, the NACLs, the Aviatrix control plane information, everything to make sure that traffic can pass. So if you scroll down, we can see here it first looked at the network ACL from the source instance. It was good to go. You can open up the actual ACL if you want to see it. It'll take you directly to AWS. And you can see that ACL even highlights the exact entry in the ACL you should be looking at. Same thing for route table in the VPC, the next hop, the target, if it's active or black hold, the security groups, the spoke gateway table, the transit gateway tables, and it does the same thing on the other side. Now you can see it failed. Why did it fail over here in that security group? Well, nothing is highlighted, so there must not be a rule in there. Everything else passed. So if you scroll up to the top, there should be a little bit of a report for us. So it could not find a rule in the inbound security group of the destination to allow 10.263.107. So I didn't even allow that. So that's why that traffic, TCP port 8080, is not allowed. In 15 seconds, you can get all this data and quickly pinpoint cloud routing, cloud performance issues. Unbelievable, never before seen. We can click this little button up here to generate a PDF, and it'll download it to your computer, and then you can share that with your colleagues or your management or whatever. There it is. If we open that up, you can see here it's the same information we just looked at, but now in PDF format, so you can email it. And there you have it. Those are all the newest features that we've brought to CoPilot. Now, CoPilot is a very agile application. We're bringing new features every 2 to 3 weeks. And these features are being developed with real world problems in mind. These are customers who are using our platform, our CoPilot and Aviatrix platform, and saying they need additional functionality for all the challenges they're facing in the real world. So we don't just come up with this stuff with the top of our head. These are actual problems being solved by CoPilot. You will face them too. As you grow your cloud network, you will face the same problems. You will need that visibility if you don't need it already. Get on board, spin up CoPilot with your Aviatrix environment, and start realizing the power of a true enterprise class network. We're not playing games anymore. Real production workloads are in your cloud. You need to cover yourself. You need to have the functionality, the visibility to do your postmortems, to do your job right, and to stop wasting time. Go work on something more valuable than reviewing route by route, hop by hop, whatever you're trying to do manually. It's a waste of your time. Let an intelligent platform do that for you and enjoy all the capabilities that Aviatrix brings to the table. Can't wait to talk to you guys next time. Thank you for listening.